Hey, second and third graders. Today I am out and Mr. Davis is in, and I hope that you have an awesome time with him today. Today your job is to continue working on creating your cartoons that we started the last time that you were in art. As you finish each cartoon, you should show your completed cartoon to Mr. Davis, and you should ask him for a new piece of paper. Remember that to finish your cartoon, it should be pencil. Then you should go over your lines with Sharpie, and after you do that, you should be working with your skinny markers to color it in. I also want to remind you that you should be working with your paper nice and tall like these ones are, so that it is a vertical piece of paper. We should be adding those exaggerated eyes that we have been talking about. And then you should also be coloring with a limited color scheme. So that means that we're just picking a few colors, maybe 2, 3, 4 colors total that you are going to color it in with. So every cartoon that you should be doing should have a limited color scheme. Keep working really hard on your cartoons. I cannot wait to see them when I get back. I also want to remind you that for this project, you need to make 8 total animals before you can do any mythical creatures like dragons, unicorns, things like that. You also may do 1 insect on your project if you want to, but we're not going to do all bugs. You can save your bugs for after you get to your 8 regular ones. I hope that you have an awesome day. Remember to keep your backgrounds plain and empty and create some awesome animal cartoons. I can't wait to see you. Today, we will be looking at cartoons and making our own animal cartoons, focusing on the ideas of emphasis, shape, pattern, and color. Let's learn a little bit more about those before we get started. What is the first thing you notice when you look at this piece of art of cartoons? One of the first things that stands out to me is the eyes. The eyes on this piece of art are bigger than they should be in real life. This is a good example of emphasis. In art, emphasis is making something stand out, usually using size, color, or the placement on the page. In this case, we will use the size of the eyes to make them stand out. We will make them bigger than they would normally be. This also helps to make a cartoon show emotions. Next time you watch a cartoon, look at their eyes and facial features. Many cartoons have extra large faces. Next, let's look at shapes. While the circles of the eyes stand out, you might also notice some other shapes that have been adjusted to make different parts of the animals. For example, a triangle can be adjusted to make the shape of a beak. Or you could adjust a rectangle to make the shape of a body. You might even use shapes like circles to fill in the spots on a cow or a giraffe, or triangles to fill in the stripes on a cat or a zebra. There are many ways to use shapes when we are making cartoons. Speaking of shapes, you can also use shapes to create patterns on your animal. A pattern is repeated lines, shapes, or colors. In this case, your pattern could be stripes like the ones on the cat and dog seen up here. This piece also shows a good example of how we will be using color. In this project, we will be using a limited color scheme of only 3 to 4 colors per cartoon animal. This will help give our cartoons a simple and tied together look. This is also a good example of what your project could look like when you are finished. Let's get started creating our own animal cartoons. The first thing that we will do for this project is turn our paper to be the portrait orientation. This means that your paper should be tall and skinny as it sits on your table. Next, we will begin drawing an animal. For this example, I will do a snake. As you draw the animal, you want to draw it nice and big so that it fills your space. It should also touch at least one edge of your paper. Make sure that you add extra big eyes when you are creating your animals, and also add fun details, like on this one when I'm adding the tongue. The next step of this project is to take a Sharpie marker and go over the top of your pencil lines. Be very careful as you go over your pencil lines, and when you are done using the Sharpie, go back and erase any extra pencil lines that are still showing. When I go around small details, like the tongue, I will make sure that I go around my pencil lines instead of right on top of them. That'll help me make sure that my tongue doesn't get too skinny. When you get to your eyes, remember that you should go around the outside of the circle, and then also make sure that you fill in the pupil, or the little black dot inside of the eye. When you're done with your Sharpie, the next part will be coloring. And for this part, we will be using skinny markers. Remember that we talked about using a limited color scheme. For example, if I was going to use pink, I would pull out the two different kinds of pinks. Or if I was going to use orange, I would maybe pull out an orange and a golden yellow color. Or if I was using yellow, maybe I would use yellow and golden yellow. For this one, I think I will go with a pink snake. I will begin by using a pattern of shapes on the back of my snake. As a reminder, a pattern is repeated lines, shapes, or colors. In this case, I will use an oval pattern right down the back of my snake. This will make my snake look more interesting. I'll fill in the head with the same color. That way, my snake will feel like it is all tied together. As I color, I'll keep my lines going the same direction. If I start with up and down lines, I'll keep going with up and down lines and color very carefully in each part of my project. When I get to filling in the rest of the body, I will choose a similar color. In this case, I'll use the lighter pink. I will still keep my lines going the same direction as I color carefully. As you go in to add any finishing details, try and stick to a limited color palette like we talked about before. In this case, I'm going to choose a red that is pretty close to the pink that I used on this project. For this project, you need to make a total of 8 different cartoon animals. After you have made your 8, you may make more if you would like to. When you have finished creating all of your animals, you will choose your 4 favorites. You will glue your 4 favorites down to a board together so that they can be displayed all in a nice clean row. Here are a couple of last must-do reminders. Your paper must be vertical or turned the tall way, even if you're making a short animal like an alligator. Remember that for just this project, we are going to do plain white backgrounds. You need to make a total of 8 animals, and you need to remember to use your limited colors, emphasis on those big eyes, and shapes and patterns to fill in your animal. If you would like to, one of your 8 animals can be an insect if you wish. After you've made your first 8 animals, you may also make mystical creatures like unicorns, dragons, or other creatures from your imagination. You could also do combination creatures. The possibilities are endless. Have fun creating your very own animal cartoons.